Hello, VC. This is Dennis coming back at you. This should be my second video. I was hoping to have a little bit more, but I have some quick reviews on 3 records I picked up when I was down in and around Detroit around New Year's. I'd gone down there because our local hockey team was in the Great Lakes Invitational and actually won, so that's great. But in the meantime, we stopped off at a couple of record stores up in Royal Oak and Ferndale, and kind of close to Detroit. Um, and I have a couple more that I had picked up of local Detroit area bands, but uh, I felt like I was kind of hamstringing myself. I was I was enjoying the music, but when you force yourself to listen to something because you feel like you have to. Yeah, that's kind of the point I was hitting. So, but I got through these 3, um, and now that I look at it, this one isn't actually a Detroit area band, but I'm going to talk about it anyways. So first off is an album called Bad Indians, Keep Losing. Um, I'll take it out of the package here in a bit for the glare and showing everything. But Bad Indians, is kind of this, well, on their Bandcamp, um, they they call it like a fuzzed out psych rock and roll and sci-fi krautrock. Now I'm just stepping my foot into kind of that psych genre. But I do have to say it definitely kind of hit those beats. Um, so I believe this was originally available only at Bandcamp. Um, and that's where I'm getting some of my notes from. But uh, it's a 4-piece band from actually Ypsilanti, Michigan, so it is from downstate. Um, it was hand numbered out of 250, and I don't know if you'll be able to tell, but I got number 13 of 250. This was sitting, I can't remember the name of the shop in Ferndale for about $10. Um, and this record's kind of just a bit of a pain to handle because this front cover here, well, part of it is actually, it comes off, and it has the lyric sheet on the back of it along with a little wraparound, and it has the song listing along with some, I'm gonna guess, pictures of the band and just some random photos along with another picture of the band on the back. So this is actually the sleeve, and I think it's pretty dang sharp too. I'm not sure if I like it more than the wrap or not. Um, and yeah, it does have custom labels. I believe it's just on plain black, and it is. Oh no, it's not. Excuse me. So you have side A and side B, and you probably can't really tell, but it's this kind of purple. Like the main part of the vinyl itself is purple, but has streaks and splatters of white and black and red. And sometimes they combine, and it's like a bluish color, a little bit of like specks of green. It's really, it's a really odd colored album, but it looks really nice. It's just a single LP. I don't think there was any download codes or anything included in this. At least not that I got. Let me just get this back together a little bit before I move on. Uh, so yeah, the shop that we were at, it was really tight. Like they had a row kind of going down the left and right hand side and one down the middle, with everything kind of being in between them. and it had a huge selection, but the only problem was that you could only basically fit one person. Like, I know I'm a big guy, but even like just the normal people that were in there, it was almost too tight to have anybody move past anybody. And I looked through, and they had a few like wall records that looked interesting that I was kind of looking at, and um, I had my wish list, but a lot of their rock stuff was all reissues, which is great. But I went down with the intention of looking for stuff like Frigid Pink and um, MC5 and some of these more Detroit area bands, along with filling in holes. Like if I could find classic pressing of a Missing Queen album or Joe Cocker or whatever, I was going to pick it up. But almost everything I looked at in there was new. Now, there were some bins underneath everything that looked like overstock. That's where they could have kept a lot of the used records, but I didn't have a whole lot of time to kind of sit in there and dig through everything. But these were located on the far right hand side, which was a lot smaller than the rest of it, a lot narrower. And past like the hip hop and rap, and I was just kind of, I don't know any of these small time bands, and I pulled out one. It's not in the stack. I haven't listened to it yet, but it was a band called Wiccans, and it was kind of expensive, but it looked interesting enough. And then I kind of kept looking, and I found it's gonna be my last one because it's the one I enjoyed the most. And I picked out probably 5 or 6 records out of the shop. Like I said, all somehow related to the local music scene. But moving on, I have an album. It's called. I'm just gonna take it right out of here. It's by a band called Bison Machine, and the album is called Hoarfrost. And so there's your track listing too. So Bison Machine, I have one big problem with this album, and I'll get to it when I show the vinyl and the labels. But it's just a good, just kind of a retro sounding hard rock album. One supporter here on Bandcamp says it's a fuzzy drone-tastic 70s sounding retro rock. It's definitely retro rock. It certainly has a sort of like almost like an atmosphere to it, or atmospheric sort of mood, and that's certainly not a bad thing. I really enjoyed the album for what it was. It wasn't necessarily anything special. I wouldn't necessarily rush out to try to find a copy, but I'm happy I have it. And looking here, I'm pretty sure all of these are sold out on their respective Bandcamps, and this one is too. I'll put a link to both this one and the Bad Indians record in the description if you want to actually hear the albums. And I believe the last one too. You can get it on CD Baby also. And you can at least sample it. But Bison Machine, this one I believe is just on plain black vinyl, and it is. Take it out real fast. Just see black. Now, these have custom labels. So on one side, you have just the band name along with the album name. And on the other, you have the track listing. The only problem with this is that, one, I wasn't familiar with the band, and 2, there's no A and B side listing. So I had no idea if I listened to this album in order or not, in the correct order, or if I listened to B and then A. I looked at it for a long time, and even now, I can't tell which side's which. Um, so I mean, on here, I suppose I can listen to, sample the first song, which is Cosmic Arc, put on the turntable, match it up, and go from there. But just taking it out of the shrink, putting it on the turntable, going, I don't know which one it is. And so maybe if maybe I listened to it backwards, and that limited my enjoyment out of it. I don't know. And again, it's not like it's bad. It's retro rock. It is what it is. And this, let me get it back in here. These are nice sleeves too that they all came in from the shop. These guys, let's see here. Tom Steck on vocal, John DeVries on guitar, Anthony Francina on bass, and Breck Crandall on drums. Recorded at Carlet Sound Recordings in Ferndale. So this must have been right down the street from the shop that it was actually recorded in. Mixed and mastered in Chicago. So yeah, if you like I said, the record itself is sold out online. I'm sure if you and I'll try to find the name of the shop in Ferndale that was at. I think they had a few left there, but again, that was a month ago. Found Sound in Ferndale is what it's called. They might have something because again, it's local to them. According to here, it was a limited edition. But it doesn't have what it was labeled or how many were pressed. Looks like there was 100 CDs that were made. But again, you can get it digitally. I know it's not vinyl. But I do implore you to take a listen to it. And then this is the last one here. This is actually the first one that caught my eye when I was looking, other than the Wiccan album. And that might be in a future video whenever I get around to listening to it. But this one certainly caught my eye. And I have another. This group, I guess, has put out now is 3 albums. I picked up the first 2. The third one just got released here. Looks like a little bit ago. But this is called Dance with the Devil. A Guide to Burlesque, The Dirty Devil's Way, featuring Enchanted Evening with the Theater Bizarre Orchestra. Now, Theater Bizarre Orchestra, it's a house band of one of the local Detroit clubs, I believe. Here's the cover. I like that. Produced in Sexophonic Stereo. There you go. And then on the back here, you can pause it if you want to try reading it. But long story short is that, from what I took of it, is that a group, a burlesque group, were looking to put kind of on a sort of impromptu show. And so they hired the Theater Bizarre Orchestra to come up with a set of music. And then they had a couple of practices before actually performing the piece with a bunch of amateurs. And if I remember right, that's what it was. And so what this album is, it's essentially a swing album. On Discogs it's labeled as jazz, I believe. And it certainly would be out of place putting in the jazz genre. But most of the songs, to me, are more that swing feel. And I know I get it, swing is basically jazz, but to me, I think about it separately. You wouldn't necessarily put, like a John Coltrane as a swing artist, right? And so the song starts out with an intro. It's called Miss Elling Speaks, and essentially it's a kind of an elderly woman, or at least she sounds maybe not elderly. Sounds like this older woman talking about like her experiences with the burlesque scene and kind of what it's about, and and all that. It's I can't remember if I would consider it to be safe for kids or not. Um, I mean, the rest of the album is. It's pretty much all straight music. It sounds like part of it might have been recorded live a little bit. I remember there being some cheers and such. Um, but included with the album. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Okay. And this too, they had two versions of it. This is just the plain black. It was limited to 300. And I don't know if you saw it earlier, but I have so much glare. 48 of 300. They also did have a limited to 200 red copies, which they did have at Found Sound too. But it was an extra like $10, and it wasn't something that I was really looking to spend because I didn't know what I was getting myself into. Now looking back, what I've spent it, maybe because I really did enjoy this, I'll be listening to it again. But before I get to the record, it has what would you call this? It talks about some of the must be burlesque women that that dance in the show or must take part in whatever troupe it's in. Beware, some of these are I'll say fairly not safe for work images. You know, wouldn't probably want your boss walking in while this is up on the screen, right? And then it's just looks like some women just talking about the show and such. There's just a little bit more on the back, along with the credits on the album. And then it has a custom sleeve too, which is pretty sick. And then looks like little steps, along with I like the hooves. They're on here too. So like I said, plain black, but it has these really, really neat labels on it. I don't know if it's picking it up very well or not. And that's the A side. B side is the same. So that's 33 1/3. Nothing slowed down. Nothing special there. It feels like there's something else in it. So, like I said, there's one other, and then this album too. I was looking up, just to get a little bit more information on it outside of, you know, what's in and on the sleeve and such. So I went to their website, which is just theaterbazaarorchestra.com. And this album, come on. Oh, crap. Something feels like it's getting bunched up back here. Oh, yeah, there it is. Of course, the pen's a corner. Why wouldn't I? Okay. Guess on the back. So when I was looking this up, just before recording this, it looks like this album, this particular one, it was recorded back in April of 2017. At the Scarab Club in Detroit. It won the 2018 Detroit Music Award for Outstanding Jazz Recording. Now, I don't know how deep that field is. I didn't actually look into that. But there was another album, like I said, of involving the Theater Bazaar Orchestra I picked up. If it's anything like this, I'll definitely be talking about it later. But just as a heads up, it's Carpe Noctem with MC Nightshade and Theater Bazaar Orchestra. Let's see here. It looks like it's a psych swing jazz band, which to me is pretty sweet sounding. Um, so yeah, so like I said, this was, I'll say, maybe half of the pickup that that I made at Found Sound. It's been, quite a pretty penny. Um, just blind buying. I can't say I regret any of them. Out of the bunch, probably Bison Machine left a little bit to be desired just because of the type of music it is. I was expecting it to be a little bit more, um, fantasy esque, even sci-fi ish. I don't know. I don't know exactly what I was expecting. I guess, um, but so I think I'm gonna make that a thing. Whenever I go to another, especially major city, Detroit or Chicago. If I ever end up in Seattle, um, is I'll have my list of overall uh, albums I want to dig for that I'm looking to fill in for my collection. But I want to make it a point to hunt down these local guys. These really regional acts. I know I live in the upper part of the upper Midwest. But we don't get a whole lot of like touring bands like that. Especially out of Detroit or Chicago necessarily. And a lot of these guys are just, either house bands for a local club or, um, just doing the bar scene a little bit, and putting their money towards an album, trying to put themselves out there, and I give kudos to that, and something that I think is kind of unique, because again, a lot of them are only gonna have, either limited editions on either their website, Bandcamp, CD Baby, whatever, or they're gonna end up putting them up for sale at a local record store, and so it's gonna be hard for anybody outside of that city, that area, that metro to get their hands on it and listen to it, and I'm sure a lot of it's great, you know. Um, so I guess that's all for me. Um, I will be heading down to Chicago here in March. So if anybody, I only have a few subscribers, but if anybody has any like local bands that they would recommend or groups, hit me up. I want to kind of get a little short list going. I know of a handful of shops I want to hit up that I either have been to before, just wandering around, or ones that look pretty easy to get to, just using public transit. Because I'd rather not drive in downtown Chicago any more than I have to. Uh, so anyways, I guess peace out. Thank you.